pocket red glare, reppin' USA, so she go crazy. Wait for it, 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 hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Latino Free Minds. I'm your host, Gio. Today, I have a couple special guests that will be joining Latino Free Minds. Tonight's episode will center around two families who have lived every parent's worst nightmare. We have Stephen Quick, who is the father of Caleb Quick, whose life was cut short in a targeted shooting outside of a Clovis, California McDonald's. We also have Julia Sanchez, who is the mother of Lorenzo Sanchez, whose life was taken in a stabbing outside of the Hanford, California Mall. Their tragedies have affected the Central Valley here. They've affected their families and the friends that have surrounded those young men. I have to admit that today's episode might be difficult for some. It'll definitely be difficult for me, but I want to allow them the opportunity to share about their sons, who they were, what happened, and what they are doing following the tragedy. Please welcome Stephen and Julia. Thank you so much for joining me on Latino Free Minds. Stephen, how are you?
Doing good, sir. Thank you.
And Julia, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for asking.
Before we start talking about your sons, I want to give you the opportunity for those that will tune in and watch. Why are you coming on the show today? I know you have an event coming out in Sacramento. I want to give you one of you a chance to explain what that event will be. Who do you hope to see out there? Invite those that you want to invite to that event.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, we have an event scheduled to be on the west side steps of the Capitol in Sacramento on August 13th. And we have gathered around nearly 40 families throughout the state of California who have similar situations, circumstances that we have gone through. My son Caleb was murdered April 23rd, 2025, and Julia's son just a few days later. And that's how we got to meet each other. We lost our loved ones, our babies, and it was due to teen violence. Teens are killing teens. And we found out the hard way that through Prop 57, through other assembly bills, through other Senate bills, that teens that commit murder, it's extremely difficult to get them transferred to a criminal court setting, and they stay in the juvenile court setting. And what does that mean? So teens that commit murder, if they go to criminal court, they can get 25 years to life. That teens that stay in the juvenile court system, they end up getting like 2.5 years at most. And that's not justice for our sons. And so we're raising the flag, we're dinging the bell and saying this is not justice, this is not accountability, and this is not rehabilitation too. So the basis for keeping kids in the juvenile justice system is that, well, through no fault of their own, these teens did these acts, but because their brains aren't fully developed until they're now 25 years old, we're kind of doing them a favor by saying, we're going to do our best, the state will, to rehabilitate them. And that's just not happening. Um, they'll get sentences to 7 or 8 years, these 16 and 17-year-olds have done murder. Even 15 and 14-year-olds, they're still getting out before they're 20 years old. And so what happened to our sons is very common story throughout uh, many, many counties in California. And so Prop 57 was passed in 2016. It's been 10 years now. And before Prop 57, district attorneys can assess the situation with the teen and make a recommendation on their own, whether this child will be tried as an adult or tried as a juvenile. And they looked at the circumstances of the event. So the sophistication of these crimes, the brutality of these crimes, they looked at the crime itself and said, hey, this teen needs to go to a criminal court, to adult court is what they call it. But in reality, it's a criminal court setting because not only do they get 25 years to life, but they'll get a felony. Whereas on the flip side, they stay in the juvenile court system. They don't get a felony, they don't get a misdemeanor, the records are sealed. So if they reoffend once they're out, it's very, very hard to track the history of these individuals, these kids. Um, so it's a lot of effort on district attorneys when they reoffend to even see their past history to say, hey, no, like we gave them a get out of jail card free, when they were teens, but now they're out here again. If they're doing work in a different county, they're never going to know.
Oh, I and I have to admit it's a tough one for me because I understand that the perpetrators were minors, but at the same time, they've taken a life. So now that you've shared the event that will happen at the Capitol, I want to rewind back to talk about what occurred with your sons. Um, I I'd like to hear um, uh, first. Um, I would love to hear about what happened with Lorenzo. Um, I know that you were there at the mall with him when it happened. You weren't there when it occurred, but from what I understand, you were there.
Yes, I was there. So it was, I mean, it was a Saturday, April 26th of 2025. It was a family day, you could say, because it was Lorenzo's. It was actually my son's idea that he wanted to go to the mall, to the Hanford Mall, too. He called it burning calories. He was into gym and all that stuff. He was into working out. He was all about working out and burning his calories after he had some sushi from Costco. So it was his idea, and like I said, it was a regular family day. I went and did my thing, which, I had to do my nails. Lorenzo and his siblings wanted to walk around the mall, and I let them because I trusted them as good kids. They walked around, and we have done it plenty of other times where we walk in the public, and places like that you expect to be safe because there's security guards. And you could call it a family place because it is the mall. There's different things to do. There's do your nails. There's also where my little ones were jumping in the little air bender. And while I was getting my nails done, while Lorenzo and his siblings were walking around, I honestly thought that they were safe. I trusted them because they're not out there, looking for problems. I know what type of kids I have, and I didn't expect this Saturday, this fun family day to turn into a nightmare where I had to see my son um, pretty much bleed out.
You know, you mentioned that you went to the mall for a family day. You wanted to burn calories. You
Yes,
know,
my
for those that don't know who Lorenzo was, I know he was an athlete in 3 sports. Why don't you tell us about
yes.
that?
So he was very, very active in everything he did. You know, he's always been a big bone kid. There was this one time where he was big. He was a pretty big kid, but one day he decided that he wanted to be, you know, get fit. So he started working out. He started joining all the sports he could. He did shoplift, where he did also track. He did football, and on his every day after school he would go to the gym, and then he would go to practice, football practice. Lorenzo kept himself busy. Like he was not going to be home. It was rare the times that I would see my son home, and when he was home we would, you know, have family time. We would either have a home cooked meal, and on the weekends that's when I would really get to enjoy my son, because those were the days he didn't really have sports. So yeah, Lorenzo was very involved in sports. He kept himself busy. I didn't have to tell him. Lorenzo kept himself busy. There's times I would have to tell him, Lorenzo, like, you know, you can skip it today. Come hang out with us, because Lorenzo was like, he was a light to our family, because he was just like always happy. He didn't want us fighting, arguing, and it was just when he would see us fighting or argue, you know, like a regular family, he would either go to his room or just stay quiet. And um it's it's a big we all felt it. We felt it. And yes,
You said he
Lorenzo
has
was very,
siblings.
yes, yeah, he has siblings, yes.
Is he the oldest?
He's the oldest, yes, and he's a role model. Yeah, my he's my firstborn, yes.
So that's why he was protective.
Yes, very protective. He was all his brothers, you know, guidance. And whenever like he had a sibling, like he was out of control, and when I couldn't control him, he'll be like, "You look, bro, you know, control yourself. You need to start doing better for yourself. I want you to start doing better." And he would guide his little brother, to, you know, to follow his steps, and to see that big loss of my, you know, my son, my son not having his older brother to that he looked up to Lorenzo, and Lorenzo was a big example to him daily.
What was the age gap?
Um, 4 years.
Okay. And
Yes,
Lorenzo was
Lorenzo
already in
was
high school.
17. Yes, he was already in high school, and
So his younger brother was in middle school.
yes,
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you you have a brother in high school that's playing sports on the football team. That's like your idol. I c- I was a younger brother, so I can only imagine what your younger son, um, the connection that they had together. You know, um, so you were at the mall and you were having your nails done. I mean, was it while you were having your nails done?
yes,
Did you just heard the commotion going on?
yes.
'Cause I imagine the mall. I mean, he must have been going like the shoe stores or whatever stores he was in. Um, I have never been to the mall in Hanford, but most malls that I've been to are similar where you're in a store, you can be pretty far from what's going on. So did the store break out in a big commotion?
You know, the Hanford Mall, it's a pretty small mall, and I'm not gonna lie to you. So where I was doing my nails, Lorenzo was like 10 feet away from me, where he was getting you know those chairs that have massages on them, and
Oh, yeah.
I was 5 minutes away. Like they were already almost done with my nails. Where I seen my son. We had even asked him. Men could get their pedicure done. Even the ladies told him, yeah, men come here and do their pedi all the time, and he said no. So he went ahead and went to the massage chair, and I could see his curly hair and him sitting on the chair with the sibling. And while I just focused on them doing my nails, um so I'm gonna say exactly that's 5 minutes. 5 minutes with me seeing him sitting down in that chair. Within 5 minutes, I seen my son. Well, I heard my son, all the commotion, him screaming. He came in the mall. I could just hear him. I just knew it was my son. As a mother, you know your child's shouts.
Yeah.
I recognized my son's voice, him shouting help, help, and right when I heard that, I got up. I heard a lot of commotion of people, just chattering, people running up and down, and I got up real quick and I told the ladies, those are my kids. I expected, something that, something was going on, and I was not prepared. I was nowhere close prepared to be at that point what I'm dealing with now that I lost my son. I was, how do I say that? I wasn't prepared I thought it was going to be, even a fight. I even expected it was going to be even a fight, or, my son pleading, my other son or somebody's, being mean to our brother Lorenzo, or, I expected little minor stuff like that. I asked the ladies that were doing my nails, I told her, hey, those are my kids. She goes, oh, okay, go ahead. I took off my sandals, and well, I couldn't see my son. I could just hear his voice. I took off my sandals because, though I heard him that his voice told me that something was wrong.
So you had to
I
run.
ran to him. Yeah, I had to run. Yes. I had to run to my son and to see what was going on, and something told me that his voice, as I got closer to him, something told me that something was terribly wrong. And I asked him, what's wrong? Where's Lorenzo? And, that's when he said, he told me and my daughter, Lorenzo got stabbed. When I heard that, I asked him, where is he at? He said, over here. We followed him running. And, and that's where the, my son, he was on the floor taking his last breath, and a puddle of blood. So that's, April 26th of 2025. That's the day that these, juveniles, you could say juveniles because it was a group of 5 kids, and they all had weapons on them. There's this thing where these juveniles are out there making these decisions of taking someone's life to get that respect in the streets. You could say that because the reason why I say this is because these kids didn't know my son. There was no motive for them taking my son's life. So these juveniles find it easy for them to commit such a tremendous crime because they know that there's no punishment for them. And they find it easy to walk around with weapons because they know that these laws are not going to do anything to them. It
You
was
said
5
they
of
all
these
had
minors.
weapons. All
They
of
all
them?
had weapons. All of them, yes.
Knives?
Knives. They all had knives. It was 5 minors. They recovered 4 knives. And that's because the reason why I tell you they recovered 4 knives was because when the minor that took my son's life, as soon as he took my son's life, he, got my son in the neck, took off running. They all split it different ways. they all threw their weapons all over the place. The police had to, go and search for the weapons, and it was 4 weapons that they're able to find.
I'm guessing they were caught on camera throwing the knives because you're in the mall.
So they had witnesses seeing them where they took off running to. And of course, the cameras, there's cameras I saw outside Kohl's, and there's cameras all outside of the mall. So they seen which way they were going, and yeah, they pretty much searched the areas where they seen them running to. And yeah, the cameras pretty much caught them running to which direction and who was who and who was where.
Yeah. Lorenzo was 17,
Lorenzo was 17, yes.
and he'd be 19 today.
He turned 18 this April.
Okay, so he'd be 18.
Yes.
How old was the person responsible?
He was 15.
15. And then all the other minors that were with him, I think I read between 12 and 15.
The youngest one was 9.
9?
Yes.
Okay.
What was a 9-year-old doing out there? Where were the parents? In these cases, what was the 9-year-old doing at the mall? Where were these parents to these minors? Why would you allow, let's say, this 9-year-old was with the older brother? Why would you allow? So the person that took my son's life was 15. He was the oldest one. I believe, yes. I believe he was. They didn't give me much of the information of the other ones. Just the youngest one was 9 years old. So
I know the trial's still going. So there's things that you can and you probably can't share. Was it gang related? Were they like in a gang?
yes, and of course I could share. I mean, the trial, you could say it hasn't begun, but there's nothing else. I could say that the mom, on the other behalf, they haven't said anything about the case. So I mean, there's no secret to my case. So to answer your question, I mean, no, there's no secret to my case. I don't know. But yes, can we move on to the next question?
Yeah. I think before we move on, because I don't want to get into the trial part of it because there's so much in there. I think we're going to get into with both of you because the perpetrators were minors, and that's why you guys are here today, because there's injustice done, and there's injustice in our justice system here in California that might allow the murderers of your sons to do less time than what they should be serving. So before we get to that, I would like to talk to Stephen and learn about Caleb. Stephen,
Sure. Yeah. So my son was he was just a few weeks away from graduating high school here, and he was a great kid. He was a church kid. He grew up going to church. He was in the Civil Air Patrol for 2 years, and what that is it was his dream to go to the Air Force. He was actually supposed to start MEPS last year on June 3rd. So he's supposed to graduate mid-May, then just a couple of weeks later, go right into the Air Force. It was his dream to be a pilot. So that was something he was working on for pretty much all through high school. He had done rugby. Great kid. Everyone liked him. Where we're at, there's like, I think 3 different high schools in that close proximity, and he was friends with everybody. He just had that spirit about him, very outgoing kid. And so he did the Civil Air Patrol. He also played rugby. He was a really good wrestler when he was young, and then so he kind of moved that into utilizing his skills for rugby because there's no pads, no helmet. So the tackling is a lot different than it is in football. And so he was outgoing into sports, into the community, went to church camps. We were at Hume Lake, which is a Christian camp up here in the Sierras, quite often at a young age. And him and I were super close. We worked out together. He was my little best buddy. He did a couple powerlifting meets. So even though he was about 5'8", I think he was at 160 pounds. Like he was deadlifting like almost 400 or 500 pounds, squatting like close to 315, and his max bench at that time was 225. So he was a strong little dude, and built compact and everything. So super proud of him. He put in so much hard work with me. We did CrossFit together after schools, and actually the last year I pulled him out and he did online school just because we knew where he was going to go when he graduated, and the timing for him, the window was really short. We wanted to get him in right away. He did his ASVABs test in December of that year, so he was ready to go. And so it was April 23rd, and Lorenzo was the 26th, and just on the Wednesday, it was a busy Wednesday. Him and a bunch of kids usually hang out at the McDonald's here in Clovis, and they're church kids. They go there after church every Wednesday evening and just hang out, have McChickens and McDoubles, just kind of goof off in there. And inside the McDonald's, there's about 30 kids that he all knew. And what's been shared publicly, and there's another kid that, there's 2 involved with him. It was premeditated, and there's a kid just sat there for like 13, 14 minutes that's been out in the public, all dressed in black. And my son and his 2 friends were leaving, and this kid dressed all in black ran out, put a 357 revolver to the back of his temple, and pulled the trigger. And
I think we lost Steven. We'll give him a moment to reconnect.
Yes.
Wow.
oh, here we go.
Thank goodness.
All right, so yeah, he was essentially assassinated in front of his 2 best friends, and I think there was like 26, 27 kids inside the McDonald's that heard the gunshot. And it was on the news. There was a white Tesla that was found speeding away, and a couple weeks later, the police picked up the white Tesla, and it was 2 16-and-a-half-year-olds that did this. So I've been going to court quite a bit. I think I've been around 50 times, 55 times since the last year and a half, but not only to my hearings, but also to other families that are going through the same thing. And I've just been doing a ton of homework on what this juvenile justice stuff does. All the rules and all the different languages that we're speaking of, the attorney talk, district attorney talk, defense, the judge talk, just trying to get myself familiar with everything that goes on. And yeah, I mean, it was devastating to learn that these kids that, that commit murder can get out in 2.5 years. And it's like, my son mattered. Lorenzo mattered.
Yeah.
That to not do justice for kids that do this, ultimately you're just rewarding these kids, and by giving them like a 2-year hiatus in a juvenile system where they get everything. They get, one-on-one counseling, they get one-on-one teaching, they get college, they get special meal plans for them if they want, like they get pads. Like this is a
When
daycare. This is
yeah.
not really like being locked up.
When because I'm sure you looked into why it's even allowed for minors to have such leniency. When you looked into it, was there a reason why they allowed that? Because I'm sure there's instances where uh, maybe a couple kids are playing with a gun and the gun goes off type situation. And in that case, it's like, was the kid with intent? Did he do that with intent? Probably not. But in both of these instances, with Lorenzo and Caleb, they with Lorenzo, all the kids had knives. What are you doing at the mall with the knife?
Hmm.
With Caleb, I I read about it, and the kid that the kid 15 and a half, they drove
16 and a half.
around. They were
Yeah.
looking for him. They went to the church, then they
Yes.
went then they went to the McDonald's because that's where they hang out, and they were looking for him. And this whole time they had a 357?
Yes.
That's
357 Magnum.
that's not accidental.
That's lethal. That they were wanting him.
It
Yeah.
was planned out. He was wearing all black. He was wearing a hood. This was in June?
April.
April. I mean, April's not really too cold. That
Yeah.
doesn't even matter. Just wearing all black, driving around, running in
Yeah.
the church looking for him. That's
Mask too. Mask on, hood over with a mask. So he was trying to conceal his identity.
that's not an accident.
Yeah, it wasn't like, yeah, they got into an altercation. One tried to, peacock, I'm bigger than you, or, like
No.
one person, none of that. It was, for mine, it was premeditated. And really, it doesn't matter if they're premeditated or if they're accidental. These kids are not getting transferred. The judges in the state don't look at the sophistication of the crime, what they call it. That's just they do, but it's like a small sliver they consider. The judges are taking the position that every kid that does this is rehabilitatable, and that the district attorneys now have to prove that they're not rehabilitatable. So they look at their past. Right. And so a lot of these cases, these kids don't have anything that's recordable. That doesn't mean they haven't done anything in their past. It just hasn't been recorded. No previous run-ins with juveniles, where they've stolen something, got caught, and spent a couple days in juvenile or a couple hours. None of that. These kids don't really have anything in their background to say, these are bad kids. But what's mind-boggling is that these kids are, if that's the case, if we're going to believe that they had nothing in there, their first offense is murder. Like that's troubling on a psychological perspective for sure.
Yeah, it's for background, because I know a lot of people, especially here locally, um, they hear rumors, they see things that come out in the news. I've heard the rumors, and I'm not even gonna go there because to me, I get that. Maybe maybe they accused Caleb of doing something, but they didn't report it. They took justice into their own hands. If that was even the case.
It's not. It's a And I've been asked this, and it's fine, but
but it's not even. Like I said,
it's
I don't
it's
even
a
want to
lie.
go there because
Yeah.
there's nothing out there. There's no police report. There's nothing from the school. So they chose to take it into their own hands to drive around to what? Serve justice? And the judge doesn't take that into account? Like, what do you think you're doing? Do you think you're Batman? So I don't know. I'll let you have a moment, Steven. I'm sorry.
No worries. I dropped again, so I'm back in. Yeah, it's very disturbing to know the details of the case, and then I've got a trial actually this Thursday for the white Tesla driver, and we could say their names. They're public now. The judges they were 16 and a half, and it's a public hearing, and their names are public. So it's Byron and Cassie. And I'm learning our rights as victims. Like, we have a right to say their names because, our kids mattered and we're victims in this. And so Byron and Cassie, they colluded, they plotted, they did my son dirty. And I have, we didn't get Cassie transferred to a criminal court or adult court. She's staying in the juvenile court, but we have a trial coming up at the end of this week. So next we go through for Byron, try to transfer him to a criminal court. So we'll see. Then, that's why I know so much about, the judges in these cases, the laws in this case say we're gonna rehabilitate these kids.
Wait a minute. You say they're transferring to a criminal court. What sort of court are they in right now?
So they're in juvenile court. They've been held in juvenile jurisdiction for the
How
past
old are
year
they
and a half.
now?
17 and a half, almost 18.
So as of right now,
What's
they're pretty much getting babysitted. They're not even facing any chances of them getting transferred to the. They're not even. I don't even. Steven, are yours? Do you? Because I know Cassandra. She's not gonna get transferred, or she's staying in juvenile court.
Yes, she's staying
So
in juvenile court.
So she
What if the
might.
trial reaches into her adulthood?
Well, the juvenile jurisdiction doesn't end at 18 anymore. It ends at when they're 25. So they can stay within the juvenile jurisdiction, juvenile hall, till they're aged 25. But once they get sentenced, they come up for parole every 6 months. And every 6 months when they come up for parole, they can get 6 months removed from their sentence. So every 6 months, they essentially get a year taken off. So that's why we're seeing, even though they're getting a full 7 years, they're getting out in 2.5 because the time acceleration, the way that parole operates, they just chop it off, chop it off, chop it off. And they're not even required.
Hold on. I'm sorry, Steven. Are you telling me that a murderer can be out in 2.5 years?
Teen murderer, yes. So, like I was saying earlier in the show, that we've collected about 40 families that are going to go up to Sacramento to protest Prop 57, because that's the basis of all of this. There are cases. Sergio Bonbaster's one that I keep bringing up because it was horrible, horrible, horrible. He was murdered in 2021 by a 17-year-old, and she stabbed him 17 times. There was an altercation with this girl's boyfriend and Sergio, and they ended up getting a knife and stabbing him. What they did next was they waited a day, they cut him in half, they put his lower body into the apartment complex garbage bin, and they took his upper half in a garbage bag and put it down by the canal and burned his body into the garbage bag. he was missing for 2 weeks, and a home.
Oh God.
I know, yes. And he is, I don't know if it's on your end also. It sounds kind of
It
let me
does a
see.
little bit on my end.
Yeah, mine too.
Can you hear
Let me
me still?
see.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can see
Can you
you.
hear me? Okay, sorry, it keeps dropping off. But so they found the body, and she's 2.5 years. They found her guilty for doing all that to Sergio's body, and she's now
How
out.
old was she?
She was 17 when she got it. She served 2.5 years. She was 20. Before she was 20, she got out. And she's now at Sacramento State University with a full ride scholarship,
Full ride from
courtesy
what?
full ride since she's the juvenile jurisdiction pays for her education, college. The state pays for her college. So she's not
That can't.
even
That
done.
you. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is this crazy stuff that's out there. And it's Prop 57, all of the parole stuff that's added afterwards. The root of all of this injustice is Prop 57. And that's why I'm wearing Michael Gates. I've been talking with him. We've been talking with every politician right now. And Michael Gates wants to repeal Prop 57. Alessandra Macedo, uh, Julia's assemblywoman in her district, tried to put Lorenzo's law out there in honor of her son. And they were just trying to tip the scales a little bit to get these teens transferred. And that was shut down by Sacramento.
I want to hear
Because
about
there's,
that, Julia.
for Fresno County,
Stephen, your audio's cutting a bit.
okay,
But I find it difficult to understand how somebody could murder somebody. You got in a your her boyfriend got in a fight with the victim. So she stabbed him 17 times. The next day they cut him in half. They put his lower body in the dumpster, the upper torso they put in a bag, throw him in the canal. For 2 weeks, they couldn't find him. That's insane to me. And she only got 2 years, which I'm sure that's time served. She probably got a little bit more time, but good behavior, I'm guessing. Julia, do you know about that?
So every I know that every 6 months, if you have like if you're in good terms, good behavior, you get time off. So yeah, I believe it's every 3 months, but yes, she I just know that every 6 months or every 3 months, I believe, if your behavior, if you're in good standards, you get some time off of those 2 years. So that's just how. So let's say they sentence you to 4 or 3 years the max. Every 6 months they go for a review of the court and they take some time off your sentence. So that's just how, within 2 years or less, kids
Yeah.
nowadays who commit these tremendous crimes, they're out. They're just
I'm
not
going to try
getting,
something. Just a second.
yeah.
Okay, there we go. I just wanted to make sure that worked. Um, I I want to try to pretend to be sympathetic, but what about the victims and the victim's family? Like, what is in Rob Bonta's head and all of the legislature that make these laws? How do they go, yeah, this makes sense. We should um, rehabilitate these kids. What about the families? What are you offered? Do you get do they even give you therapy? Like to fund your therapy, Julia?
They do.
I'm not saying that substantiates it. That doesn't make it even. You lost your son. So the fact that this girl And I'm sure it's not just this girl, but this girl came out of juvenile hall because she was tried as a juvenile. She got to come out of juvenile hall. She's still young, and she gets to go to Sacramento State on the state's dime. So, like, I'm paying for it?
Exactly. That's how it is. You're paying for it, we're paying for it for them. They took they took a life, and now, they're actually getting rewarded for their bad behavior. So where are we going to end with this? How are these teens getting when are they going to start getting punished for taking our loved ones away from us?
Right. And it's murder. That's what it is. Plain and
Mhm.
simple. You know, I got into trouble when I was young. I'm sure you weren't an angel, Julia, but this is murder. Like, we didn't kill anybody. I never had the thought to go kill somebody.
Right? Yes. I mean, they got it all wrong. I mean, we, like I said, nobody's perfect, but when you plan and when plan out to take someone's life, the way our family, the way, Steven's family, the way these other family members, how their loved ones were taken away, all these lives were taken away premeditated. They weren't just they were not accidents. These were murders that were planned out, and it's just some kids are just born with plain evil. And
In
even
Lorenzo's instance, did did they know Lorenzo?
they didn't know Lorenzo. No, they didn't. So they didn't know Lorenzo, and best I could explain with was that it was a jealousy, and they just wanted, because these minors were not only harassing my two boys. There's plenty of other witnesses who came forward saying, yeah, these kids, this is not their own first time they came into the mall and, harassed other people. And they just, picked at people, but Lorenzo was the one that was, his victim, because they were after they were picking them out of the people and hoping for somebody to like Lorenzo to come and, feed onto their bullying. So, yeah, they didn't know Lorenzo.
That makes me mad because you said that they the other witnesses came in and said that they've been there before. That's crazy to me. So they walk in the mall, so security must have seen them before. They didn't go take care of that. This is a family place. I know there's a lot of people that think to themselves, "Oh, the mall isn't somewhere where you just go hang out with your family. It's not a family setting." No, this is where you take your family to go shopping. That's it. Where else are you
Correct.
gonna go shopping? You take your family to the mall. Steven keeps dropping. You take your family to the mall to um to buy clothes, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Or just simply,
your kids have to try pants on, they have to try their shoes on. It's just not fair.
right. I mean, it's the weekend. Weekends are supposed to be for, family time, for you to get out of your home and be out with your family and do something together, and that's what we thought the mall was for, and that's what the weekends are for.
Yeah. So you're part of a group. Um, Tell me about this group that you guys are a part of. How did you and Steven meet?
What's a very it's a you could say it's a short story or a long story, however you want to call it. But so when they first took my son's life away, my at the beginning how the the news media want to interview you, and the funny part about this is that when my son's life was taken on a Saturday, and we had court on a Monday, and on that Monday exactly, I was told that, how much this minor is going to get for taking my son's life away, what was the max sentence, and how much time he was looking for capital murder. When I was told how much this juvenile or this teen, when I found out how much he was going to get, not only did I lose my son, but I also had to find out that how these laws work, that this juvenile wasn't going to get punished for taking my son's life. They said the max he would be getting was 7 years, and that's with the best of luck. And then within okay, so when my son first passed away, sorry, I took it to another. So when my son first passed away, you know how the news media wants to interview you. And while I was already really mad, I wanted everybody to know, hey, my son's life was taken away, and this is how the laws want to repay me by, giving this minor this certain time. And I was really mad. I had just lost my son, and it was just you could say a few hours away, and to find out how much this minor was facing for taking my firstborn child away, my child. I had a lot of people that were also surprised, family members, friends, and I took as many interviews as I could from the media, because it was something big. Because the reason why it was something big was because of the everything started at the mall, and then my son decided to walk away from the altercation, and that's when this minor took my son's life. So that was, you could say that was a big shock to a lot of people. So the news media wanted to interview me, and I got the courage to take these interviews because I wanted a lot of people to know how these laws worked. So I let people know, hey, because of Prop 57, or because how these laws work, this minor will only get this, this time, and this is not fair. And I also gave out, you could say, my contact information to the news media if there was other parents like me that went through the same situation as I am, for us to work together so we could make a difference together. Because from what I was told, this is very common of a law that passed in 2016. So there was plenty more of other parents like me. So that's how I met Steven, because he reached out to me because of the media gave him, because a week before that, his son, Caleb, was, his life was also taken away. So I gave my contact information to the news media. And that's how me and Steven came in contact, to working together, to, making this to a big movement where we want to make a difference, and we want to make awareness, and we've been working really hard actually, and we've united over 41 other parents that are going through the same situation, and some other parents are not ready, or they're not they see it pointless because we're not being listened to. They see these crimes, and nobody in reality is doing anything about it. So yes, that's how I met Steven, and I met other parents that are also going through the same situation as me and Steven.
So you all decided to do something about it.
Yes, we decided to speak up and um, you know, plan out stuff, like plan out things like for this August the 13th, when we're gonna go, all of us gonna go to to the Sacramento, which this would be actually our second time, our second protest. You could say that we go to the Sacramento capital.
I don't want to sound cruel for kids that are going through the system, because I know that there's times where, and maybe in the past, where crimes might have been committed, like robbery. You know, you want to rehabilitate that. But these are murderers. These are murderers. And their victims can't be the victims can't be repaid. You can't bring life back. You can't repair that pain that a parent has to deal with, or a child, or a sibling. These are murders. So in that aspect, when it comes to murder, I don't have sympathy for a murderer. And the fact that the maximum they can get is 7 years is insane to me. I understand that they're juveniles. But when you're walking around with a knife or a 357, that's insane. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that these kids are walking around the mall with knives.
Right?
So we'll see what our justice system does. And I'm sure you
Yes.
already don't have faith in it, which is why you're willing to take time to go fight for something in Sacramento. And you have good reason. Your son, Lorenzo.
Yes. Yes. Our loved ones are the ones who inspire us to keep fighting for them. Maybe someday we'll make a change. Maybe our voices will be heard someday, but the thing is that we want to keep our voices keep going, keep it going, because you never know, someday we might be heard. We've been we're just hoping that someday our voices are heard and these are changed in the names of our loved ones, because we want our loved ones' names to be remembered as a change. Because of them is why the laws have changed, and we want these laws to change because of them, because it's not fair. I don't want, and I know there's moms like me or dads like me that are like, we don't wish this pain on anybody, because us as parents, I'm sure, I don't know if you're a dad, but if as a parent, as a mom, we do the best to raise our kids. We want the best for them. For example, we put them in sports. We keep them busy because we want them to have a better guidance. We want them to have better discipline. We encourage them to do good. We want them to do good, and we do our part as a parents. And for this juvenile who doesn't have, you could say, for these juveniles just to be one of these juveniles just to come and take that from you, what, and you're like, for me, I'm just thinking like, this is not fair. This is not fair how these laws work. We bring these children to this life, and we want the best for them, and we want them to do good, to make us proud, and for one day for this just teenager to just come and take your loved one's life away just for, I don't know, respect in the streets.
And And
The reason why
Lorenzo was making you proud.
Lorenzo was making me very, very proud. I was the proudest. When I would take him to football practice or I would drop him off, I would just feel proud, like just to be his mom because a lot of people looked up to Lorenzo. Lorenzo got off my car and people were just already shaking his hand. And that my son would just get out of my car and that moment where you're with a cool kid and you just feel cool because you're next to that cool kid. That's how I felt next to my son. He would get off the car and people were just shaking his hand. Hey Lorenzo, calling his name. And I have other kids but Lorenzo was my firstborn and you could call it he was my pride and joy because he was my pride and joy because we all looked up to him. My kids looked up to him, and by pride and joy is just Lorenzo's. It's the definition of it.
Is there a memory you would like to share?
A memory of Lorenzo, yes. I want to share how Lorenzo was a humble kid. He was a very handsome kid, and he tried on everything. He tried his best on everything he did. His grades were great. He tried that very hard. His games, his football, and Lorenzo tried his best at everything he did, and that's the memory that I will forever remember. And that's Lorenzo's why I get up every day and choose to do better in life and keep fighting for these laws for someday to change. And in his memory.
Did you guys ever travel?
Yes, we did. We wouldn't, the furthest we all traveled was to San Diego, and for his birthday we took him to Morro Bay, and that was her last memory because we had took him a week. We had took him a week and a half because he had just turned 17. Then we had took him to Morro Bay. So
For his birthday.
For his birthday, yeah. And I booked 2 rooms and I got 1 room especially for him because I wanted him to experience that, oh, he has his own room and he has to be responsible for it. So that's a memory that, will I visit Morro Bay soon? I don't think so because that's it just, I don't know. It's just something I'm not ready to visit yet. I don't know. It's just something hurtful.
Tell us about the trip. Did everybody go? Did you go?
Yeah. Yes. It was a family trip. So it was my little family, which is my other kids and my sisters, her kids, her husbands, and it was a family trip. You could say it was especially for his birthday, and we all just went. Like I said, Lorenzo was just, you could call it a laughable party, but in a family way. Like he was around everybody, just felt great to be around Lorenzo.
And went to the beach.
Yeah, we went to where the big old rock. We got a hotel right next to it. Yeah, we got the closest hotel, and we didn't get in because I believe mid-April it's still kind of cold. So when you're like close to the beach, it's like colder. So we didn't really get in. We were just walking around there, and he loved that experience. He had a really good time. I wish I would have taken more pictures and recorded more that day, but unfortunately I didn't. My sisters and my nephews and them, they did, but I didn't. So those are moments that, those are moments that I'm like, I didn't know his life was going to get cut short, or else I would have taken a lot more memories. So that way I could go back and look at the memories. But most of the memories, his friends from football or his school, which is who he really spent more time with because he was so much in sports. So yes.
Was that his first year in football or?
No, that was actually his 3rd year since we moved. So we used to live in Delano and we moved to Corcoran, and First thing he did, he was in middle school when he wanted, to do something. He wanted to play football, and he was always a big bone kid. So his thing was, Mom, I want to play football. Okay, and he gathered. He wasn't one of those kids waiting for his mom to, go and talk to coaches or find information. He brought me the information. He told me how much I had to pay, and I go, yeah, let's do this. So we go and pay how much we had to pay, and I'm telling you, that kid, I didn't have to tell him to do it. He was just on his own. He wanted to play football, and he played football for 3 years, 4 years.
So very independent.
Yeah, very independent kid.
Do you remember going to the games?
Yes, I would go to all of the games. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that must have been exciting for him.
yeah, it was exciting. He was just there was a times that I would be like on my phone because he wouldn't be near the ball, and those were he would be mad if I would even glance at my phone and be like, you missed it, you missed it. He'll tell me and his siblings, no, you were just on your phone. But I was like, how was I supposed to know that you were gonna do something cool then, like but yeah, and there's times he would get mad because I would be on my phones at times, and that was just. But yes, I would, be at his games, and now I got his siblings to go to their games, But Lorenzo was a hit. He was a really
Yeah.
good kid.
And Lorenzo's younger brother, he's in high school now.
Yeah, he's gonna start high school when they start in August. So, and he got his sister, was she's 16. She's a year younger than him.
Oh, wow.
They were in high school, and actually they were varsity, and then she made it to varsity, so she would be cheering for her brother. And that was 2 for 1. So I would go to it was a Friday night game, so I would get to see my daughter cheer for her brother and my son play. So it was a very awesome experience that I'm gonna miss a lot.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
that you've gone through that loss, and I'm sorry that you
Thank
have to
you.
fight the fight that you're having to fight now to repeal
Yeah.
Proposition 57. Do you know the
Yes.
details behind Proposition 57?
Mm, the details, meaning why it
Like what it
changed or when?
what is it? Why
Well,
are
what
you
is
guys
it?
fighting it 57 to
Well,
repeal 57?
the reason why we're fighting it is because Prop 57 is the reason. It's believing that these minors could be rehabilitated after they commit murder, and they won't be, if you're 16 or younger, you will not be transferred to adult court, meaning that you only get, for taking your loved one's life away, you only be getting 5 years or less. And with, good behavior, you'll get some time off for that good behavior. You end up doing 2 years. And on my behalf, I'm not really, so after they took my son's life away, I'm not a I don't do none of that stuff. All I know is that Prop 57 is the reason why these minors are getting away with so much crime and not getting the punishment they deserve for taking someone's life. I do believe that, a minor could be better. They could rehabilitate after they commit certain crimes, but not murder. Come on, like, you took someone's life. How could you even consider that that person could rehabilitate after they took someone's life? Or, I mean, it would be great if, you took someone's life and they'll be able to come back, but they're not. So why do you get a second chance if our loved ones didn't? That's where people need to get that out of their heads. That that they could be rehabilitated.
Yeah.
So,
I had them pull it up for me here. So Proposition 57 is the Public Safety and Rehabilitation Act that was passed in November 2016. And it was voted on 64% in California. Um,
yeah.
a lot of times I think that people vote, they don't understand what they're voting for. So for the adult side of Proposition 57, it allows parole consideration for nonviolent felons and authorizes sentence credits for rehabilitation, good behavior, and education. And before that, sentence enhancements could keep someone locked up well past the base term for their main offense. And Prop 57 opened the door to parole once that term was served. For juveniles, and this is the part that's relevant for us, it allows juvenile court judges to determine whether or not juveniles age 14 and older should be prosecuted and sentenced as an adult. And it did this by repealing Proposition 21, which had let prosecutors file charges against juvenile offenders directly in adult court without a judge's input. So before 2016, a prosecutor could decide to send a minor straight to adult court. Since Proposition 57 has taken effect, that decision has gone through a juvenile court judge first. So that's why Stephen was talking about the transfer hearing, um, which is what they're dealing with right now for Caleb Quicks. Are you are you also dealing with the transfer hearing, Julia?
I'm sorry, I had you on mute.
Are you also waiting on a transfer hearing, or is that only for Caleb's case?
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's only for Caleb's case. In my case, the minor that took my son's life, he was only 15. So under Prop 57, if you're 15 years or younger, you do not qualify for the transfer.
Wow. See, these are the
Yes,
things that we need to pay attention to when we vote, because then we end up in situations like this where we start to wonder, why such injustice? Who do we blame? Well, we blame ourselves because we didn't know what we voted for. We hear rehabilitation and we think, oh, that's nice. Yeah. Because we hear the cases where somebody went in the store and stole food because they were hungry. They shouldn't have to spend so much time in prison. What they don't tell you is underneath that, there are violent offenders that now have lighter sentencing because you felt sorry for the person that was starving and went to rob the grocery store.
yes. There's
Yeah.
little hoopholes, like when you vote, it's like you're reading a warning, but there's a little small label on the bottom
Hmm.
that you're not reading because you didn't read it because it was so small you didn't want to go out of your way to read the little small label.
Well,
So
they put those things
that's how
on
it is.
there. They put a bill in there, a proposition. They don't give you the full proposition. They just tell
Exactly.
you what the Democrats wanted on there and what the Republicans wanted on there. And the Secretary of State can just decide, I'm going to cut this down a little bit because you're both kind of saying the same thing. So this is what the voters will get. But they didn't put the bill there. We don't realize that we're signing, when we bubble it in, we're voting to allow a murderer, like cold blood. Sorry. they're allowing a murderer to be able to walk out. And I'm so shocked at the case where the girl's going to Sacramento State on the taxpayer's dollar. And I know that's not the only case. I know California. I hate that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's not the only case. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more cases, but some people just gave up. Like that family we have, they came forward. Um, they came forward and shared their story with us, and they even came out on the news, and that's how we also heard about that family. But imagine how many other families do not make it where they get to tell their stories, or they just don't have that strength to fight because they just lost hope in the justice system.
Right.
Because
Who was the first? Who first started this group?
I want to say, so
Like,
I
did
want
you
to
and
say
Steven meet and that kind of kick-started?
yes, because Uh, y- yes, it did. It was, you could say it was me and Steven. Yes, because when my son first passed away, then me and Steven got in connection, and we started coming up with plans. And we met Susan and Samantha. We met other parents that, as of right now, we have a group on Facebook that we're working together towards becoming stronger, so we could beat these laws and get our voices heard. So yeah, me and Steven. Um, are the ones that, because his son was a week before my son.
Have
So
have victims, families from before? Because you guys are only within the last year. This law came
mhm,
into effect 10 years ago. Are there
correct.
families of victims that have reached out and said, "How can we help?" or "Thank you for what you're doing"?
Yes, actually,
There
yes,
must
we
be.
have. There has been plenty of people, and them asking how they could help us, and they encourage us also, because they also say that we're doing something that they wish that they would have known that they could do when their loved ones first started. And so they encourage us to keep on fighting, in the name of their loved ones and our loved ones, because it's something that definitely has to be changed. And we have a lot of people that have come forward sharing their stories, and their loved ones, how they passed away, and how
What
they, yes.
what real media attention do you guys get?
So we got Fox 20, well, we got media attention. We got Fox 26. What is the other one? KMP, Telemundo, Univision,
Local.
yes, local news. Well, you can say we have 6 news media that are actually going to every event that we have, because it's something that it catches attention, because it's known, and it's, I don't know if you have watched the media, the news, but it's like a magnet where you hear about it and you just keep hearing about it, where these miners are going to the fairs, and people are recording while this miner's blank going at it, another miner, five, 6 miners going at another miner. And I don't know if you ever came across that one where they're at the fair. Um, so yes, like I said, it's just like a magnet that, within, my son, he turned a year this April, and it's a daily thing that we see on the news. And it's just like, how are we not gonna make a change soon? When is this change going to happen? Because it's just gonna keep happening. So
I think you guys need more media attention.
yes, we do. And we do, and um we would appreciate if we would have more people, you know, looking into the real problem that it's, the problem that is happening right now with these teens.
Yeah. The teens, the communities, and
Public
very
safety.
important is the victims, the families of the victims. You have to pick up the pieces. So the media
Yes,
doesn't even give the attention to say the fight that you're having to deal with. They don't talk about the propositions that have not it's not that the propositions have ruined your life, right? That came before. It's the proposition that's piling on to what has already devastated you.
right. So
Yeah,
that's the issue.
I know we have a a good bunch of people watching. I hope they share it. Uh, I know this won't get as much reach as like a if CNN came in or MSNBC or Fox News, but hopefully somebody can share this with somebody. I know Steve Hilton's running for governor. Maybe he can talk about it. But this needs more attention than what it's getting. Um, again, Julie, I'm sorry that you're having to fight this battle. I'm sorry that nobody even realizes. I shouldn't say nobody, but I'm sorry that the battle you're fighting isn't getting the attention it deserves, that not everybody in California has had a chance to hear it, to decide if for them it's an issue worth fighting for. Because I hear it and I'm like, how can we allow such an injustice to occur in California?
Right. And I mean the problem here is not that it doesn't have the attention. I would say the attention is there. The thing is that the change is not willing to happen because if me
Has anybody presented it?
yes, Alexandra Macedo made it all the way to the to Sacramento, and she presented it as Lorenzo's Law, AB 2040, and it didn't pass. We needed 4 votes, and it didn't pass by 1 vote. So it did get that attention, but like I said, it the attention is there. People want the change because if you put the vote, if you put what is that called, what is that called where you vote, where you put that, or do you agree with these juveniles need a tougher sentence? Um, People do agree that these minors are out of control, but you know who's not, from this time when we made it to Sacramento, is these lawmakers that I could say from what I see from my point of view is that these it's not about public safety. They're not. If these lawmakers wanted, they would, because they see the noises, they see the news, they see the crime rate, but they choose not to, make the public safety a priority. So we have made plenty of noise, and it hasn't made the change that we want, but we still haven't gave up. We're still, trying to get creative with different ways of, gathering more parents like us to be willing to fight with us together, because the bigger the crowd, the bigger attention you get. So, the thing is that we're not going to give up. We're just going to, keep fighting and keep making that noise, because if we stop, we're just never going to be heard.
So for Lorenzo's law, under the current law, when prosecutors want a judge to transfer a minor to adult court, judges need clear and convincing evidence that the minor cannot be rehabilitated in juvenile court before approving the transfer. With Lorenzo's law, it lowers that standard. I don't even like that wording, lowers the standard. It changes that.
It does, yeah. It changes. So what it does is that, for let's say for Lorenzo's law, which it didn't pass, but it was put that if these juveniles are constantly committing these crimes and they have a history and they're not willing to make the change, and that with Lorenzo's life was supposed to be like this. If they have all the evidence and it's all the evidence are presented by the DA and everything's there, it would be and with these minors history, it they would qualify it as an automatic getting transferred as an adult.
Yeah.
Um,
And for those that might not have been listening earlier, that history is the witnesses that were saying, yeah, these kids were here frequently doing this, walking around harassing people. This
yes,
isn't like
and
this wasn't like a one time, because Lorenzo was there type situation. This was this had happened before they were harassing people.
yes. And the minor that took my son's life away, he was already banned from the mall. He wasn't supposed to be in the first place because he was already banned. What I mean by banned was that he wasn't allowed in there because he was caught stealing. And I mean, when you're caught stealing, he was caught stealing in the mall, and he was, banned. He wasn't supposed to be in there in the first place, and and
Of course, you
and
don't want that person in the mall. It's a place for families, like
yeah,
your
for
family.
family. Yes. So
Well,
that's where we're at, and we appreciate you, doing this for us. And I'm bummed out that Steven dropped out, and he texted me right now saying that he couldn't log in back in. But I
I
want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you doing this for us, and for giving us this moment to every view from a new viewer. It's a new you could say it's eye opener for people. Not everybody watches the news, not everybody's involved in um you know probably there's new viewers here that didn't hear about this, that there's a group of parents that are fighting for these laws to be changed. And thanks to you, maybe we got a lot more viewers that are now aware of what we're doing right now.
I want to make a commitment to you, Julia. Anytime there's an update, good or bad, if you want to send a note, or if you wanted to make a 10-second video like from Sacramento, send it to us. You could text it to me, or Steven can send it to me, and we will share it with our audience, because it's important that we follow up on this all the way through until Proposition 57 gets repealed. I just want to re-announce that your group will be going to Sacramento on August 13th between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. They will be requesting that the legislature repeal Proposition 57. If you can go out, any support that you can send out would be appreciated. That's going to be at the Sacramento State Capitol building on the West Side Steps. It is 1315 10th Street in Sacramento, California. It's important that we support in any way. So as the date gets closer from Latino Free Minds, we will share the flyer. If you guys make anything, send it to me and we'll share it. We'll make sure that our little audience sees it. Hopefully they can share it. Maybe somebody out there in the world will see it. That's bigger than us, and we'll also carry that forward. Yeah. Let's try to be there. Anybody that can be there on August 13th. Is that a Wednesday?
It is. I want to say it is. I haven't looked exactly at the day. I just know it's August
Thursday.
the 13th. It's
It's
a
a
Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know
Okay.
why I kind of figured that in my head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't looked at the calendar.
it's a Thursday. If you can make it, be out there. I mean, the more people there are, the bigger the presence, the more people will pay attention. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
for Caleb, for Lorenzo, for all the other victims, let's make a showing.
Yes.
Julia, every episode on Latino Free Minds, on primetime Tuesday nights, I always close out with a prayer. So, if you want to come back on Latino Free Minds, just let me know. Steven, also, I know we had technical difficulties. I am working on trying to get a studio so that we can do this in person, and future updates. Hopefully, we can sit down and over a cup of coffee or something, just discuss from beginning to end.
Definitely.
It's worth repeating a million times so that we can make a change. And I give you that commitment that
Thank
Latino Free
you.
Minds, we're here to share all the updates, good or bad.
Yes.
So
Thank you so much.
let's close it out with a prayer.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, we come before your throne. We thank you for this day and the blessing of allowing us to be able to share this moment, to be able to share the stories of Lorenzo and Caleb and their families that are putting up the fight. Lord, I know you're the one that gives them the strength to deal with the difficulties that they have to deal with on top of the tragedy that they've already had to live through. I ask you, Lord, to give them the strength and the fortitude to continue the fight, and to bring more people to help them. I hope that it's not in the way of more victims. I it pains me to even think that. But they need the help and they need the attention. I ask you, Lord, to allow them to have that attention so that a difference can be made here in the state of California. We need your blessing, Lord. We need your help. And if it is in your will, allow these things to happen. Thank you, Lord. Be with their families, provide them with the strength and the counseling to get through all the hard times. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank
Amen.
you all for tuning in, and hopefully more to come from the story. Some good news to come. Thank you guys.